In this jungle guide, I want to uncover the secret to why challenger junglers are the way they are and the only 3 things that separate you from becoming them. Because I'm sure you all have wondered how long until I break out, how long until I make that climb of dreams where I just simply solve all my issues and boom, rocket to the moon. And if you happen to see some of these things in your own gameplay, then it's indicative that you too might one day be challenger and you have the skill set necessary. Over the years on this channel, I've given as much information as possible as well as on the gameplay channel and the coaching channel, but the difficulty is understanding how to implement it directly into your game style. And if you want to take your climbing and jungling to the next step, head to Virkayu.gg for all of the jungle resources you need, from courses based upon your MMR to one-on-one coaching to the coaching guide library, as well as a free jungle improvement PDF, everything you need as a jungler to climb faster than anybody else with the role, all located in one place. Why spend 500 hours of your time trying to find out what you don't know you need to know when I can give it to you directly infused into your veins on Virkayu.gg. Now, the first thing here that separates you from a challenger jungler, or if you're already doing it, is indicative that you might too one day be a challenger jungler, is your ability to have the most laser edge perfect understanding of your game plan relevant to the enemy jungler as well as lanes. But there's also a critical philosophy as laners get involved into this strategy. Here's how. We had a great example on the coaching channel with this Rammus jungle who did his red side quadrant. He started Raptors, red Krugs, and I said, ooh, that's interesting. Maybe we're gonna go ahead and yank the bottom side. Maybe we're gonna go ahead and do that and maybe just go to the mid lane if bottom lane isn't doable. However, he simply looped back like a fiddlesticks would and did a full clear, except it was so damn slow that by the time he finished his blue, the scuttle crab was up. And now you can look at it and say, well, yeah, that's a great gank that you should get off. Now we are going to have to fall back to our grump and give up that scuttle crab. But the point more so is, why did we opt for a full clear and what was the enemy jungler going to do? There was no thought process there, and the clear was simply to not make your bottom lane leash, but it didn't help you optimize your own game plan. My solution directly was essentially, why didn't you just cut at the Krugs? Or if you wanted to make sure you took those 2 edge camps in the Krugs and the grump, you go red Krugs, Raptors or Wolves, emphasis on the or there, you pick Raptors or Wolves, and then you do the grump plus the blue. This means that when all your camps respawn, you're getting the respawned experience juice of Krugs and grump, and so that helps you slingshot your experience should you want to spend some time ganking. And everyone was like, well, that's a little weird, and I said, well, I made a video about it, predicting this would be a clear in the beginning of Season 13. No one has done it, I've done it, but no one else has done it until now. On the gameplay channel last night, I covered a Korean Vi strategy and build, and what happened was we were against a Hecarim. We see the Hecarim going from the top side to the bottom side. You know as a Vi or whoever your jungler is, hey, I cannot full clear as fast as you. If I want to match your ganking tempo for the bottom side, I'm going to have to skip a camp. So what she does is red Krugs Raptors with the intent of, look, I can go to the mid lane if there's something available, and then I can go to the bot lane afterwards, or there's nothing available on the mid lane, I can simply skip the wolves, do the blue, do the grump, and arrive absolutely perfectly on time for a juicy counter gank that just snowballs the entire game out of control. All because she knew which lane she wanted to gank, but she also knew which lane the Hecarim wanted to gank. She also reconciled the clears together, made the proactive decision to cut a camp out so that she could match the tempo, and thus her tempo control was there. To me, I was so excited because I was hypothetically talking about this to this Rammus play on the coaching channel, and then immediately the next day I see a challenge if I do the exact same damn thing, and honestly, it's not often that I see this clear in the wild, but that's not just it, right? That doesn't make you a challenger jungler, because you can be a Viega who also goes Raptors, red Krugs, and then decides to gank bottom lane if there's nothing invade, and then gank the mid lane, and then maybe you want to fall back down and kind of shadow the Lee Sin because you know he started top side, went to the bottom side, and will try effectively gank the mid lane thinking you should be going up. All of these mind games, all of these early game plans that matter and don't matter. If you cannot read the enemy jungler, anticipate their moves and get in their head, you're not going to be able to have the best optimization for your own early game. Fortunately for you, I have a cohesive gameplay example from more challenger players to showcase to you exactly what this looks like. Much like you're seeing with this Bel'Veth, because what happens? We start on the Raptors. Why do we start on the Raptors? For the same exact damn reason everyone else is starting on the Raptors. Bot lane gets to go leashless, I get to flex my clear as necessary, red Raptors Krugs, red Krugs Raptors, whatever the hell I want to do. The Karthus has done standard stuff, hey, I'm a farming jungler bros, I'm gonna warp my red so I'm protected against those dangerous red buff and Krug invades, because as we all know as we go to the map, Karthus is like to sequence from blue all the way up. They get a leash, they do it, it's predictable. We all know this. If you're being invaded by a Karthus because you try to full clear with them and they kind of finish the Krugs and move into your blue side, you know that's on you because you should have game planned for this and understood that they're just that much faster than you at full clearing. So what can you do about it? Well, cut out clear short and maybe do an invade on the red. That's quite tough for most champions, so we usually invade on the Krugs. The Bel'Veth, on the other hand, decides to move up that timeline because not only does she disagree with that strategy in terms of sequencing, she says, well, the guy's gonna go from blue to grub. He has exhaust. I can just move on over and, kill him and then take his stuff. or whatever's available. Maybe I get the Grump as well. Either way, the goal is to kill him, take his blue, compromise him, and now I can fall back to my red. What an absolute exquisite way to move up the timeline in a very Kindred, Jarvan, Shaco, Graves, Nidalee kind of methodology, you know what I mean? We kind of use our mobility or our secret clearings to have that element of surprise over the Karthus, and that therein is essentially the first thing summarized. Can you have the element of surprise by outthinking your opponent because you understand their champion and their jungling better than they do, while also understanding your own? Obviously, that is all the information on this channel and all the channels, and it ain't easy, but you have to learn to implement it. But the next step, it's not finished. We have to keep this pressure up, right? That's the biggest thing that you'll see in mid and low MMRs is they'll make one play like this, dust their hands off and think, cool, game is over. No, it isn't. Obviously, the Karthus knows that Bel'Veth is going to need to go to her red at this particular stage because the Karthus got the Grump. He is at level 3 advantage. So what the Bel'Veth does is go to the red into the wolves. The Karthus, on the other hand, as you would have seen, ganked the top lane, got himself a cheeky kill, and now what? What's left for him? He has no Grump, he only has wolves, he has Krugs and Raptors. So he's 99.99% going to the Krugs into the Raptors. The Bel'Veth says, hey, look, if I was a low elo jungler, not a challenger jungler, I would let him get away with that. But I'm challenger, therefore, I'm gonna shadow this, watch and extrapolate his pathing, go ahead and kill him because he's got exhaust and no flash. Even in that case, if he did have flash, he used it on the first blood kill, so it doesn't matter. We go to the scuttle. Now we could always cross and compete for the bottom scuttle depending on prios, or we could just say, hey, look, top's diveable, let's kill them. Yes, it is a top lane fight. This player does play it in Challenger Korea, so it is a thing, like the top Kane things that are going around. It do be that way. We go ahead and stack the Krugs, go back to base, so Karthus ganks the bottom lane, and as you would have seen, also falls, at least giving himself some sort of cash money infusion. Now, the Bel'Veth is going to head to the bottom side because we know the Karthus upon respawn will most likely go to his Raptors and then look ideally to sequence down to take his wolves and the second spawn Grump. That in theory is the safe move. Again, we're thinking about what he wants to do. So anyone who's seen the Bad Habits video knows I spoke about, hey, stop leaving these one camp quadrants available. Why do you leave one camp up and then go somewhere else? Because in this case, it was fine to leave the Grump on the blue on the top side because we were making a guaranteed high percentage play that would net us a huge advantage and denial at the same time. The problem with those Grumps being left in gold games is that you're going for a terrible gank assessment that you shouldn't have gone for in the first place. And all of a sudden, the Bel'Veth runs into the Karthus to go for the 1v1, the exhaust is used, and the Karthus dies. That's part of the game. We had no bot prio, we had no real mid prio. Running into his jungle to show him the size of your wing flaps isn't exactly what you want to be doing when you don't have the lane prio, especially if you're coin flipping. So what we could have done is just do the second spawn wolves, we can eventually do our Grump and our blue, but the Bel'Veth had seen, oh look, Illaoi's pushing a little bit on the mid lane, we want to get that pre-level 6 gank, let me move after wolves to get that gank done. Oh look at Karthus, okay, he dies. So you have to reconcile, look, I plan on this happening, and when it doesn't happen, I'm still ready to mechanically make a play, use the lead I have, and then also go, okay, well that means his blue side camps are available now because he died on the bottom side. He's only got +4 CS over the last time I saw him, which means he went from 19 to 23 because he did the Raptors. So because he did this random unexpected thing, I get a benefit from it and I know exactly where he's going to be next because he didn't do the thing I thought he was going to do. And that's how you deal with randomness, my friends. It's something I talk a lot about in all of my coaching, in all of my courses. It just allows you to really deal with the problem with ease. Junglers not doing what you expect them to do doesn't mean you have an excuse not to track them or defeat them. So now as Bel'Veth, we do the Krugs, we get level 6. We want to go and look to see what's available bottom side. Why? Because our red buff isn't up yet, our Raptors aren't up yet, and we have time to kill. So we know the Karthus should 100% be on the wolves and the Grump taking his second spawn blue. We investigate, we leave vision, we have a probing. And of course Bel'Veth is good at probing. And instead, nothing's there, which means what, my friends? Karthus will be going to the top side to take the top scuttle, to take his top Krugs, to maybe take something else if I wait down here too long. So we'll turn on the dragon. So that there's another thing that we can think about in terms of what separates us from challenger junglers. Not only is it this level of tracking and reconciliation of game plans and pathing, this is all under the same umbrella, but it's also the ability to straight up know exactly how to keep that pressure sustained and also to know exactly where you need to path in order to match win cons for yourself and by extension your lanes. Remember, I told you your lanes will get involved. We dove top lane early, we were looking to gank mid lane when we ran into him last time, and we looked to gank bot lane before the dragon. And because the lanes were okay, we didn't have to do much, but in games where they are gankable, you can do much. Now, we know the Karthus is rent-free on his top side, and I don't think I really like that. Therefore, we know he's going to take the top scuttle. Let's use our true form to cut through, use your mobility, whatever your champion is, let's get in his face again. Bel'Veth does exactly that, takes the red, Krugs, Herald. Karthus decides, look, I know that you know that I'm going to go to the bottom side now, therefore, I will not go to the bottom side, and I will invest in a gank on the top side because for the life of me, I'm not going to be able to do anything in this game by farming when you're tracking me and I'm giving away my position. challenger mindset of, hey, let's shift expectations. Unfortunately, we all have limit testing moments, so Bel'Veth goes ahead and limit tests between two turrets against Tentacle Lady, and allow his tentacles prove to be a lot greater than the tentacles from Bel'Veth's head, and she dies. Vi pushes turrets, decides to go into the blue side jungle. Karthus is obviously going to be counter jungling. Bel'Veth sees this, rotates over from base instead of going to the bottom side, kills Vi, takes a scuttle, tries to get in the face of taking raptors. Karthus pulls them and smites them. That's why kiting's important. Instead of falling back to her blue side for that ISO blue and wolf camp, she says, no, I'm crossing over to my red side because I know that the Karthus will now go down. The Karthus says, yeah, I probably will, so I'm just gonna go up again to stay away from you. This means Bel'Veth gets to go ahead and do raptors, red, Krugs, loop look bottom lane, no gank, unlucky. Go mid lane, yes a gank, now we can use a herald. Karthus also shows top side, we know he's most likely going to the blue, so we can translate that to even further plays. The point here though is, use your unfair advantage. Challenger players will always do that. That's why they play the strongest champions. They leverage their strong mechanics, and they go ahead and use those for leads and wins and LP gains. There's no sense of ethics in terms of, look, this champion's broken, don't play it. I know we like to meme it, I like to meme it, and you know, that's fine. But when it comes down to all seriousness, if you're gonna get Challenger and you want to do it, abuse the rules of your champion in the best possible way. Along with advancing your game plan properly versus the enemy jungler, as well as your own, along with keeping that sustained pressure to deny them, you know, for the rest of the game, and along with using your unfair advantage, whatever it might be in case of Bel'Veth, map mobility with True Form plus Fishies and Herald, it's really strong to push the map and take the game to the mid game. We all have something in our champion's kit, maximize it. And yes, we all have lapses as well. You're focusing on something, you're not gonna notice something really small on the map that showed and gives away what the Karthus is doing. In this particular case, she assumes that Karthus hasn't taken a blue side, goes to the top side after using the Herald, tries to get Vi, holds the wave, oh shit, Dragon is spawning, and the other jungler is down there taking it, and all my camps are gone. Probably should have just stolen his blue look to do something bottom lane, rather than blindly go to the top lane to hunt wild poros. Either way, we lose the dragon, we have a fight, we do fall unfortunately, you have to pay attention to these kinds of things, but the whole enemy team is totally aced, so we're okay with the result. However, it would have been better to be better positioned for this fight. Nonetheless, we rotated, we made plays, we're still in a good position. So I did mention, hey, don't leave one camp in a quadrant in the bad habits video for low elo, and the Bel'Veth is doing it yet again, ignoring the Krugs to go Raptors, Wolves, Gromp, so that she can sequence perfectly for the spawn of the Rift Herald. That's the difference, my friends. There is an inherent purpose to the pathing. The Krugs are out of the way, they won't allow me to snack them. I want to ensure I'm moving around the map to get the objectives necessary to end this game. Obviously, this will allow us a really great push if the enemy mispositions, which of course they do, and now that Bel'Veth can use her unfair advantage again. High hyper carry damage plus an insane amount of macro shove. We can open up the mid game unlike any other jungler. You kill the allow, you shove. You see Karthus somewhere else? Remember to take all of their camps as you retreat from the top lane. We get an inhibitor turret for that. We're also able to recoalesce after taking our camps and shoving them out of their own jungle for a mid lane push. At this point, we had a lot of gold, so maybe a little bit of an overstay, but you've got to push your lead and keep tempo and momentum, very crucial in the mid game. And as she will respawn going for a more tank-Veth approach here, not really one of the core builds I would recommend for those looking to climb, she will get a GA in the end. However, the Black Cleaver attack is great, and the itemization is largely irrelevant to what happens for the rest of the game because she's so damn far ahead. She has a reset, she has the shoves, and you will see highlights of that now. If you're interested in a point-by-point about how to close in this situation, I will leave a link to that directly in the bottom. It's largely the same when you have this kind of lead as long as you're disciplined, but hopefully you can see the dynamic nature of your early game is so important in terms of getting the right advantage over the enemy jungler and then basically denying them with perpetual energy and pressure, navigating lanes while you do that as well. Sometimes they will be gankable, sometimes they won't be. Ensure to keep that pressure up and then leverage your unfair advantage, whatever that might be. If it's AFK farming and getting 15 CS a minute and outscaling without much challenge, do it. If it's split pushing and getting a lot of turrets when they misposition like Bel'Veth, do that. If it's being Evelyn and permanently camouflaged such that you can pick people off and never allow them to teamfight, you use that also. Maximize your champion's unfair advantage with these other two things, and trust me, you will notice a huge difference in the cascade of your jungle tempo to victory. And if you want me to elaborate on some of these early game principles a bit slower, then I have this coaching video linked in the box on the top right.